back, everyone, to our second session on mythology and folklore across cultures. The power of storytelling presented by reading across borders. Last time, we explored myths as moral maps, stories that guide us through choices of right and wrong, courage and cowardice. But today, we'll take a step back and ask a bigger question. Why do humans tell stories at all? Myths are more than old fables, they're vessels for memory. They keep cultures alive long after cities fall and languages change. Through myth, a people's fears, values, and hopes survive. Every story becomes a kind of time capsule, a record not just of what people believed, but of how they made sense of the world. In this session, we'll explore three things. First, the major themes that myths return to. Second, the symbols that give them emotional power. And third, how oral and written traditions shape the versions that reach us. We'll end by comparing the Irish tale The Children of Lear with the Greek myth of Persephone and Demeter from our last class. So also make sure, if you haven't already, read the tale of the Children of Lear before listening to the rest of this video installment. Instead of listing every mythic theme, let's focus on four that appear again and again across the world and why they matter. First is transformation. Change is at the heart of myth. Transformation can be punishment, reward, or revelation. When the children of Lear become swans, or when Daphne turns into a laurel tree, the body changes but the soul endures. Myths remind us that transformation, whether it's grief, aging, or growth, is how life continues. Second is love and loss. Love that crosses death or distance appears everywhere, whether it's Orpheus descending to the underworld, Izanagi chasing Izanami, or Demeter mourning Persephone. These stories make abstract emotions visible. They give shape to loss and comfort to those who endure it. Third is order and chaos. Many myths begin with a world in disorder, primordial darkness, flood, or war, and end with stability restored. From Zeus defeating the Titans to the Egyptian god Ra rising each dawn, myths show that civilization itself depends on constant renewal. And finally, it's exile and return. The hero's journey, Odysseus sailing home, the Buddha leaving and returning transformed, mirrors both migration and maturity. It's about leaving what's familiar, gaining wisdom, and coming back changed. Each of these themes is really about identity, who we are, how we change, and what we return to. And we find them again and again in themes across cultures. Second, I want to talk about common symbols. Now, symbols are the language myths use when words fall short. Here are four that appear across cultures, each carrying layers of meaning. First is water, creation and destruction, renewal, and danger. In Mesopotamia, the sea births the world. In Irish myth, it's exile and sorrow. Water mirrors emotion. It's fluid, deep, and ever changing. There's also the trees. Trees are a symbol of connection and endurance, whether it's the Norse Yggdrasil, the biblical tree of knowledge, or the body tree of enlightenment. Trees link heaven, earth, and the underworld, reminding us that wisdom often grows slowly and invisibly. Then we have birds. Whether it's freedom, transcendence, or the soul, swans in Celtic myth, the phoenix in Egypt, or Garuda in Hindu legend, these all express the longing to rise above mortality. And finally, the sun and the moon. Together they represent balance, light versus dark, reason versus mystery. Cultures that honor the sun often value order and clarity. Those that emphasize the moon embrace rhythm, emotion, and change. Symbols, just like myths, adapt to their landscapes. A group of people surrounded by deserts sees water as divine, but a seafaring people sees it as both home and threat. To read a myth's symbols is also to read a culture's heart and a culture's values. Additionally, it's important to discuss oral and written traditions. Before myths were written down, they were told. Around fires, in temples, at feasts, each retelling changed slightly with the storyteller and the moment. That flexibility kept myths alive. Each generation could reshape them to fit new times. But on the other hand, once a story was written, it gained permanence but lost motion. Homer's Odyssey may have started as song and oral tradition before it became text, and it's since not changed very much. Both methods serve a purpose. Oral stories live and change and adapt, but written stories last. Now let's talk about our reading example. The Children of Lear, which is an Irish tale about loss, endurance, and transformation. When Lear's jealous wife turns his four children into swans, they spend 900 years adrift, crossing lakes and seas, singing to remember who they are. In the end, they are freed not by magic, but by time and faith. The spell lifts when Christianity reaches Ireland and the swan children accept death peacefully as humans once more. Now, there are a few symbols to note here. First, the swans represent purity and the liminal space between worlds. The sea becomes both prison and sanctuary, a test of endurance. And the song preserves memory, just as oral myth preserves culture. This tale isn't only about suffering, it's about how story and identity survive through change. And now let's compare it to Persephone and Demeter, which we read last time. Like the children of Lear, the Greek myth of Persephone and Demeter turns personal grief into a cosmic pattern. Demeter's sorrow makes the earth barren. Her joy at reunion brings spring. Both myths, both the children of Lear and Persephone and Demeter, explain cycles of nature, of faith, of endurance, and both use transformation to make loss meaningful. One ends in seasonal renewal and the other ends in spiritual release, but both say that love endures, but it always changes forms. Now, there are a few key takeaways here from this lesson. First, myths are vessels of memory and meaning. Second, a few central themes, whether it's transformation, love, order, or exile, connect cultures that are drastically different. And symbols like water, trees, birds, and the sun reveal what society is most valued. And finally, oral storytelling keeps myths alive, while writing keeps them remembered. With that, let's talk about the discussion and project for this lesson. First, the discussion question. In the Children of Lear, transformation means survival through suffering. In your culture's stories, what does transformation mean? Does it mean punishment, growth, or renewal? And the project. Choose a myth from a culture other than your own. Retell it in a modern or personal context. Change the setting, symbols, and character, but keep its emotional intact. Ask yourself, what part of this myth still feels true today? Thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you all at the next lesson.